I thought I had the perfect family until I found out my wife was having an affair with her own cousin. Since then, everything in my life has fallen apart. All right, this is a tough situation, so please be patient with me. This all happened about 2 weeks ago. I went from trusting her completely to deeply doubting her. My wife and I met when I was 19 and fell in love quickly. She had a 4-month-old son from a previous relationship. The father has been out of the picture the entire time I've known her. Since I was a kid, I wanted to be a dad, but I have a genetic bone disorder I don't want to pass on, so adoption felt perfect to me. Since then, we've been a pretty normal, everyday family. We got married last year. She's never been very close to her family, but she did have 2 cousins she was quite close with, and I enjoyed getting to know them. They seemed decent. She had mentioned that one of them, Max, tried to kiss her when they were 12 or 13, but she ran off. I asked if she told anyone, and she said she just chalked it up to him being a dumb kid. We see him every Christmas, and he seems normal. I actually liked him. Our family is more formal, and he's laid back. Recently, they reconnected at a few family gatherings. We only have 1 car, and I need it for work, so he'd pick her up and take her. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, after all, they're cousins. Her behavior didn't change. Then one night, while I was watching TV, she walked in and mentioned I'd added a coworker as a friend. I just accepted a friend request. We're a pretty open couple and don't usually get offended by stuff. She'll comment on an attractive guy and say something crude sometimes, and I don't mind telling her a new woman at the office is hot. She didn't accuse me of cheating, but it felt like she was about to, which had never happened before. I mention this because cheaters often project. Those family outings were legit. Everyone posted photos on Facebook, and my wife sent pictures from the events. There were 2 of them, and each time she came home, she acted robotic. Intimacy felt normal, maybe quieter than usual, but she deals with depression and sometimes goes cold. When I asked if she was okay, she blamed it on that. 2 weeks ago, she left for work, and it was my day off. I puttered around the house, took our boy to school, then came back and checked email on the laptop. I saw a direct message from her cousin. He and I had recently discussed catching a minor league baseball game, so I figured he was replying. The message said, "I'd love to see you on your knees." I was confused until I realized my wife's WhatsApp was still logged in. It was about her. I wanted to end him. I rushed to read the conversation. It was full of innuendo from him to her. She said things like, "But I'm married. No, I'm married." But it felt weak, like she was saying no because she had to, not because she wanted to. I was shocked and furious. Still, since neither of them said anything had actually happened and she was rejecting him, albeit gently, I couldn't say for sure she was cheating. That night, after our son went to bed, I confronted her. She instantly broke down, hysterical, crying, saying things like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't know how to tell you. I was just hoping it would stop." Both of us were abused by family friends as kids and spent years in therapy. So we actually have good communication around comfort, boundaries, and expressing feelings about unwanted advances. I love her and wanted to believe he was just being a creep, but the way she didn't tell me and acted normal made me think something more was going on. I said I believed her and asked if I could text him to tell him to stop and tell him how angry I was, especially since they're cousins, or if she preferred to handle it. At first she said she'd tell him I knew and to leave her alone. But her resolve cracked. She was sure it would just stop. I was furious but didn't show it and told her that since she wasn't going to handle it, I would. If she was being harassed, I'd end it. If she wasn't, then she was cheating. I messaged him. He saw it and didn't reply. My wife said I should have let her handle it. I told her there was no way I'd stay silent. She seemed to accept it and even said I was probably right to confront him because she didn't know how. Things seemed normal again. 3 days later, I came home and she was sobbing. I asked what was wrong. "It's Max. You should have let me handle it." We had the same talk about me not standing by while someone harasses my wife. She gave me a look, just a second, but it made me think she didn't consider it harassment. We ended agreeing I handled it how any man would. 2 nights later, I was up late, around 2 a.m., finishing some work. I heard her on the phone laughing. That's not normal. She said it was her mom and something about our son's birthday. I didn't believe it, but I started playing naive so I could observe without her being guarded. The next day she's crying again. I hit my limit. She'd been unstable for 2 weeks. When I asked if this was about Max, she said she tried calling him to apologize for not handling it herself and that he still wasn't talking to her. I lost my patience. I told her either he was harassing her or she was cheating and I'd catch them on the couch. Obviously, I wanted to go off on her, but I'm not an idiot. I'm basically sitting here with my finger on the trigger waiting for solid truth. I'm about to blow up at both of them. Sorry for the ramble, I don't know what to do next. Thanks for any advice. She goes to work in 6 hours. I'll apologize for blowing up and ask her to sit with me tonight and talk. It's Sunday and our son usually spends the night with my parents every other Sunday. I'm not proud of this, but I feel it's in my best interest to investigate. If I find nothing, we'll discuss when this started, how I can help, and what to do going forward. I love her, and the idea that she's being harassed by someone who should love her breaks my heart. But if I find something sordid or find she was complicit, I'm ending it immediately. I don't believe in marriage counseling after infidelity, and even if I did, cheating with a blood relative, I could never look at her the same again. I'll update, I didn't sleep. When she woke up, I made breakfast, said I shouldn't have exploded, and we should sit down tonight and talk. She agreed, not even upset. She said she probably handled it poorly. I told her harassment is infinitely harder when it's family. She agreed. I wasn't going to snoop, but many people told me to, and I didn't want to ask for advice and not follow it. So I checked her messages. With how she acted this morning, I had fewer reasons to doubt, but screw it. I did it. The level of disgust, hatred, and anger I feel can't be put into words. There will be a divorce. There was an email titled Delicious. I opened it. Indecent photos of her cousin with another man. Oh my God. The message exchanges detailed his encounters with random men. They referenced past encounters he and my wife had together, like a sex toy photo captioned, "Still have our old friend." That's not even the worst. I then read revolting conversations between them where she plays a dominatrix and insults his size. The dates were from a year ago. Reading further, I could tell they used to hook up frequently but stopped after we married. We'd been together for years before marrying. Later, she started using "I'm married" as an excuse, which sounded like it was just his fetish, to be told he can't touch her anymore, though he probably still did. I'm raising her kid and she did this to me. I wasted the last 6 years shifting my work schedule and turning down better jobs for hours that let me care for him. I stepped outside, sat on the porch, called my brother. After explaining, I asked him to take my gun for a while. I'm not violent, never have been, but in this state I'm swinging between wanting to erase him or myself. I won't do it, but I feel a breakdown coming and don't trust myself to be rational. I'm packing my clothes and checking into a hotel. I printed everything, emailed it to myself, and when I have time, I'm digging for more. I bought a pack of cigarettes. Had quit 4 years ago. Great. I need to book an STD clinic because apparently he prefers unprotected encounters with random men. My soon-to-be ex uses an IUD and we've never used protection in all these years. So now I've got months of nail-biting ahead. From what I understand, some tests take months to confirm. I know his work hours. We used to work for the same company. So maybe before I check in, I'll drive to his place with the evidence. There's no fixing this. No therapy, no hope. I don't care about apologies. I'm divorcing this expletive and she's not getting anything. I hate life right now. I'm not depressed or sad. I haven't cried. It's just this ball of anger that cigarettes barely soothe. I can't be near her or him. I know I said I'm not violent, but man, I really want to take it out on them. Update 2. My stepson isn't some DNA mix-up. He and his biological father look exactly alike, and a paternity test set child support. After it proved he was the father, the guy disappeared. Only heard from him once in 4 years. The last few days have been a roller coaster. I saw a lawyer, then went to Max's house and spoke to his wife. She was shattered and disgusted, not just by the betrayal, but by the shared DNA piece. We sat for a while. I told her he bragged to my wife about unprotected hookups with random men online and that there were photos I can't describe. She insisted on seeing them despite my warning. She was devastated. He'd been on both sides, always chatting with random guys. She said she let him go out occasionally to get it out of his system. She thought he hadn't done it in over a year. I spent the night at a hotel, still am. I spoke with my mom, brother, and dad. My mother-in-law called, begging me to come talk. that I must be mistaken. It's all in the inbox. I didn't answer. My wife tried calling a dozen times. I didn't answer. She didn't text. I assume she knows I'm documenting stuff and doesn't want to give me more ammo. End of day, I called and kept it brief. Told her I'd talk the next day. When I eventually went home, she was an emotional wreck. She tried to hug me. I told her it's over. She insisted she never cheated. I must have misunderstood. And Max's wife must be spreading rumors because they hate each other. That's when I realized my wife thinks I learned this from someone else. She didn't know I discovered it on my own. I showed her the printouts, his face glazed in a photo. The screenshot titled "Delicious" with something huge captioned, "Our old friend." Her talking like a dom, mocking his size, real power play stuff. At points, she told him to send pics of himself. After those men finished with him, I'm not a prude, I'm adventurous, so it's not like she had a vanilla husband who's shocked by kink. As soon as she realized I was the one who found it and told Max's wife, she went from sobbing to explosively angry. "You should have talked to me first." She's telling everyone. She started a smear campaign on Facebook. "This will ruin me. You knew she'd do this. I told him to stop messaging like that." That's when I exploded. I told her I'd just read a year of texts and emails and she never told him to stop. I called her a degenerate and said we probably both have AIDS now. She recoiled and just cried. I told her we're divorcing. I called her dad and told him to come to my house because she shouldn't be alone in that state. I went back to the hotel. Max's wife messaged me. She did a deep dive and found discussions of hookups dating back to 2010 on freaking MySpace. My wife told me at the start of our relationship, he tried kissing her at 13. Turns out they were active at 15 or 16, when MySpace was still widely used. Seeing how far back it goes finally broke me. I'm not big on emotional displays, but I cried in front of Max's wife. She cried too. After I took her to my lawyer, and one of the partners will handle her divorce. Meanwhile, Max has been panicking, trying to find where his wife went. He's even trying to talk to me after all this, claiming it's a misunderstanding. Max and his wife live in a house owned by Max's parents. They came down hard on him, told him he can't stay there, and apologized to their daughter-in-law, saying she and the baby are welcome as long as needed. Max is basically disowned. His father even floated the idea that Max groomed my wife as a teen, which is why she's doing this now. She's his favorite niece, practically a second daughter. So Max is in hiding because the old man wants to forget him. Unprompted, my own dad offered to pay for my hotel for a week. I told my boss bluntly what happened and that I'm taking 2 weeks to sort my life out. He sympathized, said his divorce was awful, told me to take whatever time I need, and he'll just tell the office I have a sick father. Kind. Now, I'm lying in a hotel room missing a stepson I'll probably never see again. I raised him for 6 years, changed diapers, did 3 a.m. feedings, took off work when he was sick, cared for him after a bad fall, broke his arm so his mom could sleep before her morning shift. The whole world could turn to ash and I wouldn't blink. But the thought of never seeing him again rips me apart like nothing else. I need therapy, lots of it. I'm not a danger to myself, so don't worry. I'm an atheist. This is the only life I've got. I spoke to my lawyer. We'll meet later with Max's future ex because apparently there's more. I have a medical appointment tomorrow and then months of waiting for results. Thanks for the support. If more develops, I'll update. TL. A few weeks ago, I found questionable DMs from my wife's cousin. She claimed it had just started and she wanted it to stop. I messaged him to cut contact, assuming it was an unwanted advance. It wasn't. They've been sexually involved since 14 or 15. Divorce is definitely happening. Further updates. Condensed. Same meaning as original. Rapid test HIV, negative. I'll retest in coming months. Max's wife, I'll call her Cherry, came for support. Her exam is in 2 days. I had a long, frank talk with my soon-to-be ex. She's the instigator. She's in love with him, and obviously they can't be together. I'm basically a beard, like those sham marriages closeted men used to have. Devastating. She says she loves me, but I don't believe it, and it doesn't matter. We discussed my stepson. At first she said weekends with me were fine. Later she changed tone, saying I'm the only dad he knows and keeping him from me would hurt him. We plan to tell him soon. We're not rich. We'll split utilities fairly and divorce fast. She even refused child support from me. You didn't make him. You didn't do this to him. I met Cherry again. Max's family apologized to me and are letting Cherry and the baby stay at their second house. The family believes Max manipulated my wife. I won't correct them if it keeps the peace for my stepson. Cherry is a mess, understandably, but has support and therapy lined up. She and I have been leaning on each other, hand on shoulder, casual touches. She massaged a neck knot, held my hand at the clinic. I'm attracted to her. I think it's mutual. I'm trying to be smart and not complicate both divorces. I'm on the verge of a breakdown, but legally things look favorable. Max is couch surfing and dodging everyone. Later, we told my stepson. My ex started rewriting history, downplaying the physical side. She pushed for my car because of commute, kid logistics. I might just surrender the old beater and get another, but I'm wary of being bled dry. My dad gently said I don't have to chain my life to this family forever. They'll support me either way. Cherry met Max. He claims many wild hookups were made-up dirty talk between him and my wife, with only one secret boyfriend. Sounds like BS, but who knows? He didn't acknowledge his daughter until Cherry pushed him. Cherry and I cooked dinner. She sings a French lullaby to her baby. She kissed my cheek goodbye. I felt something light for the first time in a while. More, I started doubting if I can keep being a dad. I was careful my whole life because of my genetic disorder. She was impulsive and had a kid, and now I'm tied down by someone else's choices. I love my stepson, but my ex will likely leverage him to control me. If he were my bio kid, I'd fight for full custody. As a stepdad, I don't have the same rights. It's a horrible internal debate. I feel guilty even thinking it. Cherry and I decided, against advice, to be a couple, quietly for now. We're adults and live alone. We'll keep it discreet until the divorces are done. She even told me if she were me, she'd run from this crazy family. Sadly, she's stuck near them because of shared parenting. I filed for divorce. We tried to have her served at the courthouse to keep it discreet, but it didn't work. I had to drive her to her parents. She admitted she'd been unhappy even before marriage. Sex life mismatched. We tried role reversals. In the end, I sacrificed my desires. We once had a third, with strict rules, that actually made things smoother for a while. After that ended, Max and Cherry moved back to town. My ex reconnected with Max, vented frustrations, and the affair started again, sneaking off at family events, likely even at our wedding. She's now in therapy and treated our talk like confession. She admitted a time she cried for over a week wasn't about an aunt's death. It was when Cherry called, happily pregnant. I'd been holding and comforting my wife while she cried over another man. That hurt worse than the messages. I saw my stepson again and felt torn. Staying in his life means staying near her forever. That pain might be too much. Rumor. Max got into drugs. We changed locks for Cherry. Cherry and I are pursuing a romantic relationship. The chemistry is the best I've had. She brought me homemade dinners at work. Sweetest thing anyone's done for me. Life is beating me up and somehow also lining up small good things. Big turn. 2 friends in real life recognized my posts. I planned to stop updating, but then Max landed in the ICU from ingesting antifreeze, possibly intentional, possibly accidental. Cherry felt crushing guilt. His parents went from condemning to asking if she'd reconcile for their sake. Prognosis looked grim. Brain crystal deposits, cerebral edema, cardiac event. Even if he lived, likely heavy brain damage. I can't say I pity him. I don't wish this on anyone, but he helped ruin multiple lives. I'm here for Cherry. My ex started seeing someone, probably had others in the wings. I clearly had blinders on. This is part of why I can't stay in my stepson's life. I'd be powerless while she spirals and hurts him. I did everything right. Loving, supportive, domestic, good with her family. We had intimacy issues, but nothing insurmountable, or so I thought. Turns out the marriage was a rotting illusion. I considered 3 paths. Follow Cherry south if it's real, move west to restart my life, or stay, climb the ladder at work, maybe research whether my condition has new treatments. 3 months after D-Day, Max died from antifreeze. His parents turned on Cherry, blamed her, threatened eviction. My parents and hers weren't happy to see Cherry and me together. We were found out. My ex cut off my regular access to my stepson once she learned I was with Cherry. I still saw him occasionally, like apple picking, but no weekly routine. Divorce hearing set for mid-November. I learned my ex had 2 other affairs, one before marriage and one during. Friends always suspected, but said nothing. Whatever. At this point, it's a scraped knee after a gunshot. Cherry moved into my place for safety. We decided to try being serious despite family disapproval. She hadn't finished high school, moved in with Max before graduating. She's getting her GED. Her family offered to pay for schooling if she moves closer to them. There's work in my field there, the city's getting worse, housing is cheaper, tempting to move. We're both in therapy, individual and together. We're learning what a real relationship feels like. With my ex, we lived as roommates with sex. With Cherry, it's daily connection. Messages, calls, dinners together. We find activities we enjoy. I cried once alone, realizing the past 6 years meant nothing but the feeling passed. She has bad days. Therapy keeps her afloat. We stick to routines, sleep and wake together, even share the shower sometimes. I get to do dad things like feeding and putting her daughter to bed. It keeps my dad instincts alive. My ex found out about us and blamed Cherry for Max's death. She claimed things would have been better if we'd kept the separation private instead of Cherry blasting it online. She said she'd never have left the apartment if she knew Cherry would move in. Then went on a rant about my supposed sexual inadequacy. I had to hang up. November, and the divorce couldn't come fast enough. Then, Cherry took 2 pregnancy tests, both positive, curveball. I'm terrified of passing on my bone disorder. We spent the day talking. She'd had a period after separating from Max, so it's definitely mine. We scheduled a medical appointment and researched my condition. Good news, by week 14, we can detect severe, moderate cases. We're not for termination unless it's a severe, likely fatal case. Until then, we're choosing happiness and hope. I love her. She loves me. We're jumping into something, I don't know what, but I'm hopeful and scared. 1-year update, summary. A year ago, I clicked a message and discovered my wife's incestuous affair with her cousin Max. Within 3 weeks, Cherry, his wife, and I had gathered evidence going back to MSN days. Through trauma, Cherry and I supported each other and then started dating. A year later, she's the mother of my first child. Max later died from ingesting antifreeze. Doctors said the amount suggested an intentional act, perhaps a cry for help. Cherry had been living in his parents' second property. They withdrew support after he died and blamed her. My ex is now openly shunned by her family for her role. She initially allowed me to see my stepson, but when my relationship with Cherry became public, she weaponized access. Despite catching her in a 10-year affair, she acted like me dating someone else deserved losing the child I'd raised since infancy. Cherry and I moved to her home state. I started a new job. We rent a house. We're in therapy separately and together because relationships born from trauma can go wrong, and we want to build communication skills for hard times. I learned in therapy how my parents' bad marriage trained me to see silence as health. My ex probably never loved me, and the absence of fights didn't mean happiness. Cherry shared that Max isolated her, talked her into dropping school, wouldn't let her work, so she had no friends beyond him and my ex. Later, he told her he met men sometimes, and she just surrendered to it. Latest on my ex, she had an altercation with a meter officer, got arrested, and was found with multiple prescriptions, apparently doctor shopping. She did a token 3 weeks in jail. Her parents are fighting for custody of my former stepson. Her life tanked fast, Cherry popping in to speak for herself. She met Max online at 16, he was 18. He love-bombed, then lost interest once she moved in. He never hurt or insulted her, but he withdrew. They mostly played video games and ate delivery. He confessed attraction to men. She told him to get it out of his system, not realizing it'd be constant. She caught him meeting men via his phone, forgave him multiple times, planned to leave, then got pregnant. He improved for a while. They moved into his parents' second house as tenants. She met his cousin, Jane, my ex, who shared interests and gave young mom advice. Over time, Jane and Max grew suspiciously close. Concerts for 2, Halloween shifts together, constant photos. He started wearing kilts, then skirts. Cherry's suspicions flared, then faded after the baby. Months later, Jane reappeared constantly, asking for Max's help while I, John, was at work. One day, I knocked on Cherry's door, kept my composure, told her what I'd found, then choked up. Every suspicion confirmed. She blew it up on social media. She saw Max 3 times after that, when he came to get his things, once in a parking lot to talk, and in the hospital after he poisoned himself. She plans to keep writing his therapy, but is glad to finally get this off her chest.
Commentary Reddit observer. This story is brutal on another level. Max and Jane are awful people. Cheating is terrible on its own, but doing it with a blood relative is repugnantly beyond the pale. Max's parents treated Cherry and their granddaughter terribly too. The OP did the right thing by walking away, painful as it was. His ex would have made his life miserable and used the child to manipulate him. I hope things work out for John and Cherry. They saw each other at their worst and got through it together. Good luck to them both. If you liked the video, please like and comment. Thanks for watching.